Most people believe success arrives as a sudden event. They think discipline appears in a moment of inspiration. They believe one strong decision can change everything at once. This belief is comforting, but it is false. Success does not arrive suddenly. Discipline does not appear fully formed. Strength is not born in a single decision. What you see on the surface is never the full story. What you admire in others is always the result of unseen work. Not luck, not talent, not timing alone, but repeated, quiet choices made long before recognition. Ask yourself this: how many times have you waited to feel ready before acting? How many times have you told yourself motivation must come first? That belief has cost you more than you realize. Discipline is not the result of feeling strong. Feeling strong is the result of discipline. Not intensity, but consistency. Not pressure, but preparation. Not emotion, but structure. Self-discipline is strengthened the same way muscles are built, slowly, deliberately, through resistance applied over time. You do not wake up one morning with a disciplined life. You wake up one morning with the results of the habits you practiced yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that. The invisible work matters most. It always has. Picture an old stone bridge stretching across a wide river. From a distance, it looks solid and effortless, but beneath the waterline, unseen by anyone passing by, are massive pillars driven deep into the riverbed. Those pillars were placed long before the bridge carried weight. They were built slowly, stone by stone, under pressure, without applause. Your discipline is built the same way, below the surface, in ordinary moments, in decisions no one sees. What weakens discipline is not failure, it is neglect. What strengthens discipline is not perfection, it is attention. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you place another stone below the surface. Every time you delay gratification, another pillar is reinforced. Every time you choose effort over ease, the structure grows stronger. No one celebrates this work. No one applauds you for waking up on time. No one praises you for saying no when it would be easier to say yes. But this is where the real work happens. Opportunity does not reward potential, it rewards preparation. There is a quiet law at work here. Preparation meeting opportunity does not create stress, it creates confidence. When opportunity arrives and you are unprepared, it feels like pressure. When opportunity arrives and you are prepared, it feels like progress. Discipline is preparation practiced daily. It is training for moments you cannot predict. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. Ask yourself honestly, what are you practicing right now? Because whatever you practice is what you are preparing for. Pressure reveals patterns. It always does. When life becomes difficult, you do not suddenly become someone new. You reveal who you have been practicing to be. Look at the student facing an important exam. One waits until the final days, relying on stress to produce effort. The other studied a little each day long before the pressure arrived. When the exam comes, one feels panic. The other feels familiar focus. Look at the worker facing an unexpected challenge. One reacts emotionally, overwhelmed by responsibility. The other responds calmly because discipline has trained their response. Pressure does not build character. Pressure exposes it. Discipline is what stands between you and regret when the moment arrives. It is the quiet force that steadies your hands when the stakes are high. Focus is fragile. Distraction is aggressive. Your focus must be protected like something valuable, because it is. Every distraction steals a small piece of your future. Every interruption weakens your ability to follow through. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your energy. Self-discipline grows when focus is guarded intentionally. You cannot be disciplined in everything at once, but you can be disciplined in what matters most. Ask yourself, what drains your focus daily? What habits quietly sabotage your effort? Eliminating distraction is often more powerful than adding effort. Less noise creates more strength. Growth follows a sequence. It always does. You learn, then you apply, then you evaluate, then you correct, then you persist. Skipping steps weakens discipline. Rushing results leads to burnout. Learning without application creates knowledge without power. Application without evaluation creates effort without direction. Discipline strengthens when you close the loop, when you reflect on what worked, when you adjust what didn't, when you stay long enough to improve. Motivation is unreliable. Systems are not. Motivation changes with mood. Discipline remains when systems are in place. You do not need to feel disciplined to act disciplined. Action comes first. Feeling follows. Structure protects you from yourself. It removes unnecessary decisions. It reduces emotional resistance. When your day has structure, discipline becomes automatic. When your day is unplanned, discipline becomes exhausting. Patience is discipline stretched across time. Nothing meaningful grows overnight. Seasons exist for a reason. You plant in one season. You cultivate in another. You harvest later. Impatience destroys discipline by demanding results too soon. Strategic patience strengthens it by trusting the process. Feedback is not failure. It is guidance. Measuring your actions gives discipline direction. Ignoring results leaves discipline blind. Small corrections compound into massive improvements over time. Momentum is built, not found. Once discipline starts moving, it becomes easier to maintain. One disciplined action leads to another. One completed task builds confidence for the next. Eventually, discipline stops feeling heavy. It becomes part of who you are. Breakthrough is not an event. It is a lifestyle. One day you look back and realize you are no longer struggling to be disciplined. You are simply living in alignment with your standards. That is when self-discipline has been strengthened over time. Not forced, not dramatic, but permanent. And it all began with a small choice made consistently. One day you decided to honor your word. One day you decided to focus. One day you decided to persist. That day can be today. And it starts with the next decision you make, not when you feel ready, not when conditions are perfect, but right now, with the understanding that discipline is not something you chase, it is something you build, one quiet choice at a time, knowing that every small action compounds into a future version of you that feels steady, confident, and capable, even when no one is watching, even when progress feels slow. Because real strength grows below the surface, and those who endure long enough eventually discover that discipline does not restrict life, it expands it. And the longer you commit to this path, the clearer it becomes that what once required effort now feels natural. What once felt heavy now feels light. And what once seemed impossible now feels inevitable, as you continue to practice the principles that shape your days. Because self-discipline is not a destination you reach, it is a way of living that evolves as you evolve, deepening with time, sharpening with awareness, and strengthening through repeated action. And as you continue forward, remember that the path you are on is shaping you just as much as you are shaping it. And every choice you make today is quietly preparing you for the opportunities, responsibilities, and challenges that will arrive tomorrow, whether you are ready or not. And the question you must continue to ask yourself is simple and powerful. What am I preparing for right now? Because discipline answers that question honestly, through your actions, through your habits, and through the standards you choose to uphold when no one is there to remind you. And this understanding is where real change begins, not with force, not with pressure, but with calm, deliberate commitment carried forward, day by day, moment by moment, choice by choice. as the discipline you practice today becomes the strength you rely on tomorrow, and the life you are quietly building continues to unfold in alignment with the principles you choose to live by. And that is why strengthening self-discipline over time is not just about achievement, it's about becoming someone you can trust, respect, and depend on regardless of circumstances. Because the strongest form of discipline is the one that stays with you long after motivation fades, long after excitement passes, long after external rewards disappear, leaving only you, your standards, and the steady confidence that comes from knowing you can follow through no matter what. And this realization, once fully understood, changes the way you approach every area of your life, from work to health to relationships, because discipline is the foundation beneath them all. And as you continue forward on this path, allow yourself to move patiently, deliberately, and consistently, one disciplined action at a time. And as you continue, you begin to notice something subtle but powerful. The struggle changes shape. What once felt like resistance now feels like routine. What once required constant effort now requires awareness. This is how self-discipline strengthens over time, not by dramatic transformation, but by steady refinement. You start to see that discipline is not harsh, it is protective. It removes chaos, it creates space. When your life lacks discipline, everything feels urgent. Everything demands attention. Everything feels heavy. But when discipline is present, priorities become clear. You know what matters, you know what does not, and most importantly, you know what comes next. Ask yourself this: how often do you waste energy deciding what to do instead of doing what you already decided matters? Decision fatigue weakens discipline, clarity strengthens it. The more clearly you define your standards, the less effort it takes to follow them. Discipline becomes less about willpower and more about alignment. This is one of the most overlooked principles. You are not fighting yourself, you are training yourself. Training requires repetition. Repetition requires patience. Patience requires trust. Trust that the process works even when results are not visible. Trust that consistency compounds even when progress feels slow. Trust that effort placed in the right direction will eventually return multiplied. Many people quit too early, not because discipline failed them, but because they stopped trusting it. They expected fast results from slow work. They wanted certainty before commitment. They wanted proof before persistence. But discipline does not work that way. It asks for faith before evidence, action before confidence, structure before freedom. This is why so few stay the course, and why those who do eventually separate themselves without trying to compete. You do not need to outperform others. You need to outlast your old patterns. Your past habits do not define your future, but your current habits are shaping it right now. Every day, you are casting votes for the person you are becoming. No single vote decides the outcome, but the accumulation does. This is the quiet power of self-discipline over time. It removes the pressure to be perfect and replaces it with the responsibility to be consistent. Perfection is fragile. Consistency is durable. Perfection breaks under pressure. Consistency adapts. When you miss a day, discipline does not disappear. It waits for your return. What matters is not the break, it is the recovery. Returning quickly is a skill, one that strengthens discipline more than never failing at all. Ask yourself, how quickly do I return when I drift? The faster you return, the stronger your discipline becomes. Not because you avoid mistakes, but because you refuse to abandon your standards. Standards are anchors. They keep you steady when motivation rises and falls.
This is why discipline must be principle-based, not mood-based. Moods are temporary, principles endure. Principles guide behavior even when emotions argue otherwise. They provide stability in uncertainty. This is where the 5 principles for strengthening self-discipline over time quietly live, not as a checklist, but as a way of thinking. First, discipline grows through consistency, not intensity. Second, discipline is built in invisible moments. Third, discipline prepares you for pressure before it arrives. Fourth, discipline sharpens focus by removing distraction. And fifth, discipline compounds through patience, feedback, and persistence. These principles are not exciting, but they are effective. They do not promise shortcuts, but they deliver results. They ask for effort now so you can experience ease later. Ease without effort is fragile. Effort that leads to ease is sustainable. This is the difference between temporary change and lasting transformation. As discipline strengthens, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop asking whether you should act. You simply act. This does not mean life becomes rigid. It becomes intentional. You gain freedom by choosing structure. You gain clarity by limiting options. You gain confidence by keeping your word. Confidence is not loud. It is quiet certainty built from evidence. Evidence that you can rely on yourself. Evidence that you follow through. Evidence that you do what you said you would do. This kind of confidence cannot be faked. It must be earned. And once earned, it changes how you walk into every situation. You no longer hope things will work out. You trust your preparation. That trust is priceless. Over time, discipline becomes less about achievement and more about identity. You do not try to be disciplined. You see yourself as someone who honors commitments. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior reinforces identity. This loop strengthens with every consistent action. Ask yourself again, who am I becoming through my daily choices? One day, the answer will surprise you, not because of single breakthrough, but because of many small decisions that quietly added up. This is the flywheel effect of discipline, slow to start, difficult at first, but powerful once moving. At the beginning, discipline requires conscious effort. Later, it creates momentum that carries you forward. Stopping becomes harder than continuing, not because you're forced, but because alignment feels better than resistance. This is when discipline stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like self-respect. You are no longer giving something up. You are protecting something important: your time, your energy, your future. And with that protection comes peace. Not the absence of challenge, but the presence of order. Life will always apply pressure, but discipline determines how you respond. Without discipline, pressure creates chaos. With discipline, pressure creates clarity. This is why discipline is not optional for long-term success. It is foundational. Talent without discipline fades. Opportunity without discipline is wasted. Desire without discipline remains unfulfilled. Discipline turns potential into progress, and progress into permanence. As you continue strengthening self-discipline over time, remember this: you are not behind, you are building. You are not weak, you are training. You are not stuck, you are in a season of preparation. One day, the work you are doing now will feel obvious in hindsight. One day, others will ask how you stayed so steady, and you will know the truth. You did not wait for motivation. You did not chase intensity. You committed to principles. You showed up when it was boring. You stayed consistent when results were quiet. You corrected when you drifted. You persisted when it would have been easier to quit. And slowly, steadily, discipline became part of you. Not something you force, but something you live. This is the path. Not dramatic, not fast, but reliable. And if you stay on it long enough, you will discover that self-discipline does not limit your life, it expands it. Because the strongest form of freedom is knowing you can trust yourself. And that trust, once earned, stays with you wherever you go.